All right. Welcome, Internet. This is your Pastor Tim on the line, and I am here with the Prince of Praise, none other than our...
This is Lyle Henderson.
Wow, Lyle, wait a minute. I've heard that voice before. You sound like a radio personality from somewhere. Come on, talk to me. Tell me about yourself.
That reminds me of a joke that my mentor and I share. He taught me radio. His name is Walter Ross. And
wow, shout out to Walter Ross.
He's I always kid him that he's like older than Moses. Moses is like his only it's like his only classmate.
Now, did he know Enoch, Methuselah, Noah?
Right. All of those.
All of those. Wow.
But there was a caller who came and said, she called and she said, wow, I really enjoy you. I've always wanted to do what you do. I wanted to be a radio pronouncer for years.
Wait a minute. She said radio pronouncer.
Exactly.
Catch that.
Exactly.
We're going to add this to the list of questions that we need to ask the folk. Are you announcer or pronouncer?
And wait, of course he didn't let that go. He said, yeah, I can do it very well now after so many years. Watch this. Radio.
Wow. I wanted to be a radio.
It went right over her head.
Pronouncer. I'm sure it did. I'm sure. Bless her heart. We'll just say Bless her heart.
Oh my God. Make sure you all pay attention to the episodes to come, because we're going to deal with this bless your heart.
There is nothing wrong with bless.
I didn't say it was anything wrong with it. I did not say anything was wrong with it.
All right, so wait a minute. Where are you coming from, Prince of Praise? And you have to realize, when you hear me use that word, Prince of Praise, any of you that have seen our weekly Facebook shows, or if you've seen our services, I don't like to use the word show because it's not a show. We do this for praise. We do it passionately. And when we set up our presentations and we're sharing the word of God, we're doing it from the passion of our heart. We're trying to save some folks from this evil and untoward generation. But this gentleman here,
he just went preacher on me.
Does it with passion. Oh, you gotta go. Hey, that's why you say the pastor.
Did y'all notice how he changed, how his voice changed too? It's like he went from ha 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 to, and listen, we're gonna save somebody.
Hey, you got to.
The only thing he didn't do is
hey, we'll go into that a little bit later. I haven't got to the grab my ear.
Right.
You know, I guess if the preachers were a rapper.
Right.
Those are the two that you don't want to put together. You know, they say the preacher keep grabbing the center parts. Well,
they're grabbing the wrong thing.
They're grabbing their ear, and they're just trying to get that tune together.
So grabbing your ear. So let me correct the pastor on one thing. First of all, there is an industry person in the gospel industry called the Prince of Praise, and that's Mr. Byron Cage. I met him. He's a really nice guy. My name Prince actually came from,
mine's dealt with passion.
Yeah,
that's why I said when he sings, when Prince Lyle sings, he sings with lots of passion. Not saying that Byron Cage doesn't sing with passion. And see, I don't know Byron, so Byron, if I ever get a chance to meet you, I'll give you a high five. But I'll also tease you about Uncle Tommy. Woo, my brother, you want to get froggy and leap? Oh, brother, don't get me started. I know I'm a pastor, but guess what? We stumble upon that stuff too. No, don't get me started, Prince of Praise.
But anyway, like I was saying, back in New Orleans,
he wasn't ready for that one.
I was involved in so many different things. I did a gospel brunch on Sunday morning with a very well established.
So pause. Well, what did you have for breakfast? Now I want you to go back to the story. What did you have for breakfast at the event that you were at?
Brunch?
Yes. Was it beignets and scrimp?
No, not scrimp. For sure, not scrimp. And this guy, just because he lost some weight, now he's scrawny. He wants to talk about scrimp.
He's saying that as if I was one of the plump boys, or one of the biscuit boys from down the way. But all right, let's keep going.
I didn't have to say it. You just said it.
Nothing wrong with the little bakery goods in the morning. Look at God. Hey.
But I digress. So I was involved in a lot of things, and every time you turn around, there was something that I was on the news for, or being interviewed for, or talking about in PR and so forth. And so the television media in New Orleans, some of the newscasters actually started calling me the Prince of New Orleans.
Wow.
Because they were like, you're involved in everything. So I did radio, I did music, I did festivals, I did, I did church, so when there was a church event or a convention or
now I have to dive into this. I got to dive into this a little bit.
I hate it when you dive.
How long did it take for you to become the Prince of Praise for New Orleans? Now I keep hearing you enunciate
Prince of Praise.
New Orleans, and you're right. I need to go ahead and correct that now, because I like saying Prince of Praise, but it's actually Prince Lyle.
Yeah,
Prince Lyle.
Yeah.
When did they anoint you with that title?
It's like calling Thomas Dorsey the King of Gospel. When everybody knows James Cleveland was the King of Gospel.
Cleveland is the King of Gospel.
Like calling Shirley Caesar the Queen of Gospel before Albertina Walker actually passed away.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, you have to give the trailblazers their just due.
Yeah,
that's true.
So,
and you know what?
He was
being
called
a pastor,
the Prince of Praise.
You're absolutely correct. You definitely want to be that guy. And what's interesting is, I guess they gave
Byron weren't called the pastor until Apostle Hamner
until he had
became emeritus.
Stepped aside and became emeritus, and then he still ended up pastoring in a different location.
Except nowadays in these churches, they've got pastor of everything. So there's got like 5 pastors: pastor of music, pastor of ushers.
Well, come on now. I can tell you in our denomination we don't do that, but I thought that was an interest, and I think the reason why they do that is because you're the shepherd of that particular ministry. And you have people following you. Maybe that's the reason why they do that. But someone's going to send us an email on that. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. I stay out of my DMs. Listen.
No. Jump into my DM. Because what you going to find, you're going to say, hello.
No.
Pastor.
I don't want you to.
Are you there?
Don't go to my DMs. I want you to do
go
it out
to
in public.
DM. No.
We can talk about it. I want you to do it on the DM. No, do it on the comments.
DL, DP, and DO. Speaking of DO, you can go to Revelation. It'll say, bless those that do. And we like those that do. So do hit that DM, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because there is more content coming.
It's coming soon. Listen.
This platform that you're listening on, I don't even know how you're listening. I'm not going to tell you how to listen. Matter of fact, I would tell you just go to my website. Everybody, you know what? I have a pet peeve. I'm a technology person. I've been doing it over 2 decades.
Wow.
2 decades. That's a long time. That makes me old.
I was going to say it, but you said it already. I'm not going to like this because you're going to steal my thunder.
I'm not going to steal your thunder. Only you can make the rumble.
Listen, this podcast, since there's there's a conjunction in there. He's only half of it. So when he starts getting too preachy, then I have to bring the other half of it in.
No.
While he does that, before he does
if you're
that,
Prince Lyle, then I'm just Pastor Tim. That's all it is. That's all it is. You are what you present yourself out there to be. But to your point, there are a lot of quote unquote, they refer to it as bivocational. Bivocational. Okay. So, for example, you would be Pastor Lyle at church and Prince Lyle in your regular life. And in your case, I'm going to split you into 3 and say you're trivocational because when you go to work, come on now, somebody, I believe that's Greek. That's
but I want to go back.
And try. Go ahead, go back.
You called it regular life. So the pastor's life is not regular?
It is regular. It's just different than what you would have ever expected. Most people, when they hear that word pastor, they may think of going back to what you mentioned about the king and the prince, and you had to make that distinction. Well, for a pastor, you have to make that distinction and say, all of us are not Joel Osteen.
Gotcha. So
we're not
so the
pastoring a Lakewood church.
Gotcha.
We're not a Pastor Hagee
that
either.
was nice of you to give a shout out to the Lakewood church.
Yeah. yes.
So what you're saying is the pastor's life is irregular. Everything else is regular.
No, actually, the pastor's life is regular, and everything else would be irregular.
But that's not what you said. You said in my regular life.
Oh, I follow what you're doing. You're trying to follow the sentence of the diction. For the most part, it is a regular life for those who have embraced the lifestyle of the biblical pastor. And keep in mind, if we are that quote unquote royal priesthood. Now, see, I was trying to be nice and, stay out of the book. But you know what? Guess what? And this was what's interesting about those that are pastors. It's not something that you put over here and then it only shows up on Sunday morning for most. It should show up on Saturday morning or Sabbath morning. Some may refer to it as.
All of the people who've been following me for years, they know that word Sabbath.
They know that word Sabbath. Well, there are people that's following Prince, and then there's some people that's following Pastor. They'll know it as either Saturday or Sabbath, or some might even say Shabbat. Either way, going back to that, the two lives are actually not separate. They are, as a matter of fact, one life.
Wow.
The books say what? Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good work. And if they can't see no good works, they can't see Jesus.
That reminds me of a quote somebody said.
Oh, hit me with the quote.
It's all right to be seen, but don't do it to be seen.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that.
Listen,
hold on, Paul. Can we go back to that?
Wait,
slow
before
down,
we do that,
because that's an educational moment.
I want that to marinate. But because we've got to pay bills.
But do me a favor. Say that one again. But you're right. Let's pay a bill. Go ahead.
Because we've got to pay bills. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. We'll be right back.
All right, we're back. All right, thank you for that commercial break.
Now,
there.
what I did was,
I need you to go back.
I challenged you because
Wait a minute, I want you to go back. Wait a minute, I want you to go back.
Usually,
I
the
know.
organ starts raring.
We don't have no organ here.
And people start roaring. And the crowd
and they start running.
Wait, where's the crowd? Where's the crowd?
You want to hear the crowd noise? Yeah. Well, we have a crowd noise. Oh, you know what? We just have a hand clap.
Okay.
Wah wah wah. Yeah. We'll work on some crowd noises.
Few more episodes down the road, you'll get it. Yeah,
we'll have some crowd noises. Yeah, but wait, going back to that thing that you said. Say that quote one more time because I love those educational moments for those, because there are some people that want to listen to a podcast just for they want to unwind, and I'm hoping that you will hear what we're doing here in this. If you want to call it a lifestyle podcast, if you want to call it a nonsense podcast, if you want to call it something that makes you go, I want to not only, entertain you from a pastoral perspective, but I also want to have you thinking about some things that happen. And that thing that you said about seeing, say that one again. I want to say it, but I want you to say it because it sounds so much better. Go ahead.
It's okay to be seen, just not okay to do it to be seen.
Now, let me say something. There are certain people that'll say, wow. Let me just say that. I think that's the most ignorant thing that somebody can do.
It's okay to be seen doing, just not okay to do it to be
but
seen.
most people will sit back in the audience and they'll say, wow. And it's like, brother, is that all you can do with vocabulary? There are so many. Listen, people, listen. There is this book out there. And the first book I want to share with you. No, it's actually not about me. There's a book out there. There's two books, actually. There's one book, and most of you are going to say it's obvious because it's Pastor Tim saying it. That book is called the Bible. The second book that I really want to emphasize, and there's so many words that color our language. That book is called the Dictionary. Check it out. Words like wow are good, but there are other words that will express similar semblance.
Yeah, like that is such a phenom.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Just take a look at the dictionary and say, that's outstanding. That's wonderful. 2 and 3 syllable words, sometimes 4 syllable words. Oh my. All right. I've jumped on my high horse. Let me get back off the horse and come back down to earth because I was ready to go there right when I heard that statement. And I hear people say that in church, and they do it in church. You know, that's where I heard it from, right? I'm sitting there. I might say something profound. Somebody just give me a wow. And I was like, wow, all that study. All I get on that one is a wow. And I'm not using that as a crutch. Some preachers need the crutch, say, amen, pastor. Well, guess what? COVID helped me to get used to not hearing amen, huh, Prince?
Do we have to mention COVID in the first episode?
You got to mention it.
Goodness.
Why? Because you know what? If COVID hasn't taught us anything, it taught us a new perspective on how things could have been. And this is why I said that, my brother here, and I'm calling him my brother. He's my friend. I want to say that he's my confidant, but that may not be fair to some of the others that might listen to this and say, wait a minute, I thought I was your confidant.
Yeah, but you can have more than one.
Well, that's true, because the scriptures say what? In the multitude of counsel. See, you think you're going to separate the two, but you can't separate.
But see, that reminds me of a chapter in the book that I'm working on.
Go ahead.
Shameless plug.
Wait a minute. Shameless plug. He done slid that one in there.
There's a chapter.
Wait a minute.
There's a chapter where I name it's called "Why Was I Not Invited?"
Why was I not invited? That's a wonder. That could be the title of the book. Why was I not invited?
It might be.
But I like that.
I
like that chapter.
Yeah.
Wow. So wait a minute. Talk to me about your book. Prince Lau is about to do a book. This is important.
One of the things that you mentioned just now is like, somebody hears some things and they're like, well, he can't mention that's his best friend because I'm his best friend. It's like, so why in the world would you be the only best friend? Who said that you had to be the only best friend?
The only means that you're special and you have a special place.
So then that minimizes yourself. Then you have taken yourself down a peg because you don't realize that you can actually have more than a room of specialties.
That's true.
Yeah,
I on that one, because I'm not really focused on that right now, and it could be because it's so early. It could be because the coffee hasn't kicked in. By the way, it doesn't take coffee to get a spark out of me. Come on now. I could have had some cold water. I could have had some hot water and still woke up and did what we're doing right now. That's that life. Go ahead.
Your wife, when I came to Oakland.
Wait a minute. Why are you looking at my wife like that? Yeah, we are in the city of trees. But I hope you was looking at them trees and not my wife. You're going to bring up my wife and then think, really?
Well, what happened is,
Prince Lau.
What happened is, like in the Bible,
all right, now we got our tunes.
Took the clay.
Should I grab my ear? Why don't the preachers grab their waist? Why don't they grab their knee? Go ahead, back to the Bible.
He took the clay and he put it in the man's eyes.
Put it in the man's eyes.
And he said, what do you see? He said, I see men just like trees.
Just like trees.
And then he did it
But
again.
He wasn't in Oakland.
He said, go wash. And then he said,
wash.
Men. So then that's when I saw your wife.
All right. when they took the scales from his eyes, he saw the wife at that time.
Okay,
all right.
So
she's gonna love that, by the way, and she's gonna say,
what
Lyle.
She said when I came here, what she said when you asked me to start doing the 1:00 service, and I started doing praise and worship. She said, I never thought I'd meet any other person with as much energy as my husband. That's what she said to me. Ask her; she'll tell you.
Oh no, she told me. She told
you about it.
Oh, she told me. Woo!
Yep, she told me. She said,
"You know how that goes." I
never thought I'd meet a person with as much energy as my husband.
And you know what? Let's say this. Going back to what we mentioned with COVID, because you said we had to bring COVID into the discussion. If COVID hasn't taught us anything, it taught us that if you have passion. Guess what? It can transcend that camera. It can transcend the zoom lens, and it can go out and touch an audience.
Okay.
And what's interesting is, or from what I've observed and from what I felt, I can feel the audience feedback, although I can't see them.
Right.
I can hear them.
Yep.
And in many cases, even, and you have to realize, COVID was one of those shockers when it comes to IT, because when your system fails, because you're focused on something else, you don't, you, the speaker, the one that's doing the presentation, you don't know that it failed. And I'll give you an example. Those of us that are watching television, and that's why I said, when you think of pastors, you'll think of some of the larger pastors, your T.D. Jakes or your Hagees, or even some of your local pastors. There's a pastor here that a lot of people haven't heard of, but they have a very, a nice size following, and that's
like Apostle
Pastor
Thomas Clark.
Thomas Clark.
Yep.
He
Nice
has a
size
very
following.
nice following. Apostle Bess out of Cleveland.
Yep,
He has a
there you
nice
go.
following. Here in the City of Trees, the person I was going to go to was, his name is Bishop Bob Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I believe he's a
Yeah,
part
I've
of
been there.
Church of God in Christ.
My good friend Lawrence Matthews. Oops, I almost
he
called
actually,
him another name.
yeah,
My good friend Lawrence Matthews.
I know
is
Lawrence.
the minister of music
Yeah,
there.
believe it or not, I know Lawrence Matthews.
And David Jackson.
David Jackson, his
traveled
son.
with Janet. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
His
no
son.
relation, I don't think.
I don't know
Yeah.
David Jackson as
that's-
well as I know Lawrence, but I know Lawrence through James Mitchell. From the James Mitchell Singers. So
shout out to our friends.
Shout out to all of our friends.
See, he's got other confidants. But
Yeah.
you were saying the larger ministries.
Yeah, the larger
gotta keep
ministries.
him on
What's
schedule,
no.
yeah.
I was coming back to it. So
There you
those
were.
larger ministries, I'm sure when they're up doing their presentation, they don't know about the technical issues until the services are over, and the tech guy say, "Hey, Pastor, great job," but
We didn't get any of that.
yes,
Nobody saw it.
Can you redo that? And see, what the pandemic has taught me is that when I have a failure, guess what? Everyone on the other side know that I failed. And I find out after the machine, I look up and see, or I hear the wife, "You're not on. You're not on." It's frozen.
I don't like the word failure though. I really don't. We didn't have a failure. We had a glitch.
No,
We had
let's
an
call it a failure.
opportunity.
I
Why?
like failure.
Why failure?
Failure is an opportunity to restart again, but you'll restart more wisely.
That's
That's
an
a soft
interesting
quote.
perspective. Yeah.
That's actually a soft quote from Henry Ford. And I'm going to say that if there's anybody who has ever failed, but they had to stay encouraged, I won't just go to Ford. I'm going to say anyone that's an inventor or anyone that's embarking upon something that they've never done. You have to realize if you haven't done this, you haven't seen a template, but there's something in your spirit or something in your mind that says, I can do this. It can be done. If it is to be figured out, it's going to be me who figures it out.
Now, listen, I'm going to do what every church member would
You
like
got to do. Go ahead.
Listen, we'll be back in 1 minute.
All right, we're back once again in our final segment here.
Y'all know y'all have been in church and you're like, can we stop him?
Yeah,
Can we
there you
stop
go.
him? And he's
this
just
is
going
one
on.
of,
He's
you
going
know what?
on.
This is one of those times where you can actually stop the But you know what, Prince Lyle, guess what?
Yeah.
Oakland, our little church, one of the things that we were known for as a church was the ability to stop the preacher mid-squall to ask a question. There you go with that wow. That. There you go about that wow. He's
you
like,
know what?
wow.
You know what? And before we get off this episode, our very first, call it a trailer if you want.
Yeah, this will be our trailer. This is just
trailer.
having lots of fun.
Listen. One of the two things I wanted to mention.
2 things. Go ahead.
You said that the pandemic taught us something. One of the things that it brought. You with your IT background, me with my broadcasting background.
Yes, there you go.
It was like I was inviting everybody into my world where you actually get to talk to so many people. You have no idea who's out there. You have no idea who you're talking to. You have no idea who will see or hear it later.
Yes,
you're
you
just
actually
giving
get to see your audience.
All. Yep, you're just giving everything you have. Yes. No, but even when I do pre-recorded inserts to put into our broadcast, that's a little inside behind the scenes thing for our listeners there.
For the tech team.
But yeah, it's like it reminds me of being on radio because you have no idea who's going to see it, who's going to like it, dislike it, who's going to talk about your teeth, who's going to talk about how big your mouth was, how close you were to the camera.
How close you were to the camera, your forehead,
you just gotta get
the
in
whole nine, your hair, everything. Well, you know what's interesting about those that are critics
that
are not creating, and I want you to come back to number 2, but those that are not creating, they're too afraid to get out there to try. And that went back to something that we just talked about failure.
Yeah.
I always had issues with things that were not 100% perfected, but I'm finding out now that failure, that's a part of the perfection process. You can't have perfection unless you have those failures.
Yeah, that's true.
You had mentioned a second item, and I want to hear that second item before we go off, the air. Our time is just about up. I know we had lots of time, and we did not even, we haven't even touched the surface. Oh,
but listen,
my goodness. Second item,
go ahead. The second item is that I love the fact that we will be able to bring our backgrounds into one, merge together.
The convergence.
We will be able to synergize those two backgrounds to come together to do this, to bring it to you. We get to talk and you...
Wow. You know what? And I'm hoping, because one of the things that I think people fail to realize at times, and this is Tim, you can say I'm going back to my pastoral background, but this is really more on the technical background, and it's actually the consulting and the entrepreneurial, Tim. The one thing that you never get back is time.
That's true.
And you don't want to waste people's time. We want this, podcast, or we want this, platform that we're setting up for you to be something that you can walk away. That's why I asked Lau to slow down. I said, hey, wait a minute. I like that quote.
Yeah.
And I'm hopefully that I'll come back with some words of the day. I could tell you the first word of the day that I did for our young people in our Sabbath school. It wasn't the very first, but it was one of the ones that stuck.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that stuck with them, and that word was sagacious. Ooh. And that was smarter than smart. And that's what I said. This dictionary thing has so many words in it that, wow.
I like that. I'd like to include that in our episodes.
We may have to do that. What's our word of the day?
I actually have a friend. Yes, I have a friend.
No, you have a friend. Tell me, but I want you to tell me about your friend.
You're like, really? You have a friend?
Really? You have a friend? Wow. Note to audience. Prince Lyle has friends. Oh
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Any of you that follow him on social media, you'll know that we're just, fiction and nonfiction right now because, he's always posting with a new friend. So who's your friend, Lyle? Talk to him.
I have a friend who, his name is Quillan Portley.
I love the name Quillan.
Yeah,
I love it.
Both his parents are ministers. Nice. Bishop.
So he's a PK. Mm-hmm. Wow. So wait, were you a PK or DK?
I was a PK.
He was a PK. Yeah. Lyle was a PK as well. Yeah, wow. I was a DK.
Wait, what's a DK? Deacons?
See, I threw it. I knew if I threw that in there, that'd make him spark up. Somebody else said DK. Yeah. What's a DK?
Yeah.
Blank.
The thing is that my dad was ordained. My dad became a deacon, but it was much later. My mom was a minister long before my dad.
Okay,
so I grew up with
you're PK
with a mom.
On both sides.
Yeah, I grew up with a mom as a minister, and then my dad.
And there I go doing the wow thing.
Right.
That's phenomenal.
But one of the things that I love to do is that I have certain friends who are kind of that nerdy type. And I will see a word and I'll be like, oh my God, I've never seen this word before. So I'll text them. I'll say, Quillan, have you ever seen this word? Or Marco, I'll tell him, do you know about this? Do you know about this? And what is this phrase? And we'll just go in on this whole thing about this one word.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's how I started using substantive changes and non-substantive
changes.
Yeah, I was working for a university and actually revising their faculty handbook.
Nice.
And I found that word and I was like, ooh, substantive changes.
Substantive
and non-substantive.
And non-substantive.
That's right.
That's up there with fiction and nonfiction. I like that.
Exactly. But I think that's one of the things that the pandemic taught us. What things are important, what things are not important, substantive, non-substantive. They have their place.
True.
They're just not always substantive.
Yes. And it's not even high on the radar. Yep. Wow.
Speaking of radar, the radar is that our time is up.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. Funny you mention that. And I'm sad to say that our time is up. And we're really going to have to work harder next time to share more in it with dense amount of time.
Oh, yeah. But we've got some great topics lined up for you.
You have to come back.
One of the shows I want Pastor Tim to do for you
is pastor
he did
Prince.
This sermon. He did this sermon about grief and the 10 things that you should not say. I love that. I'm telling you, I love it. I told you it should be
I think that one was called Hush.
Flyer. Yeah.
We might have to write a book on that.
Oh, my goodness. Things that you shouldn't say when people lose you know, when they have a loss in their family, all of that. And there's some other ones that we're going to deal with.
That might take me down a road that I don't know if I want to go down there.
No, we'll go down the road. We're going to go down the road.
It's going to be both, you know, entertainment, emotional. Yeah. This is a roller coaster. I hope you're ready for the ride.
Yeah, I'll bring my facial tissue. Yeah. Notice I didn't say the brand because we want to give everybody an opportunity.
Let's do a hand towel.
Oh, that's good.
There you go. And then you don't have to worry about brands. You just say cotton.
But let me say this.
But doesn't cotton owned by somebody too? Go ahead. Say it.
The cotton pickers were owned by
people. That's why I brought it up. He's from the South. I knew that would catch on.
So, but we'll do a show about that too. But I want to open that door for any advertisers. If you've got a business and you want us to present your business. So that's why I'm staying away from brands so that we can give you an opportunity, because we would not want you to advertise with us and we're talking about your competitor for free. All right.
Exactly. All right. This is Pastor Tim.
And I'm Prince Lyle.
Thank you for listening.